During a tense family meal just weeks before the wedding, she announced loudly, "My former boyfriend will forever remain a central figure in my world. If that's a problem for you, then don't bother marrying me." Every pair of eyes at the table turned toward me. I simply replied, "All right." Within 7 days, the invitations were pulled and she finally understood the wedding was finished. Everything exploded at a strained Sunday lunch, one of those awkward pre-wedding gatherings where two completely different clans are forced to smile and act like they're about to become one big happy family for eternity. On one side sat my parents, a reserved, old-school couple who have quietly shared 40 years of marriage. Across from them were the parents of my fiancée, Clara, two retired counselors who communicated exclusively in therapy speak and treated every personal limit as an optional guideline. And right there in the middle was Leo. To everyone else, he wasn't really an ex. He was Clara's sole sibling, an irreplaceable pillar of her emotional universe. He showed up to every Christmas, every birthday party, every casual dinner. He still had his own key to her parents' home. He was the ever-present, smirking phantom haunting every celebration of our relationship. I had been crystal clear from day one about how I felt. I'm not the possessive type, but I do believe in clear lines. I believe old romances belong in the past, not parked at your table trading private jokes with the woman you're supposed to marry. Every time I raised the issue, I was treated to the same patronizing sermon from Clara and her parents about my outdated patriarchal instincts and my tragic failure to accept a more enlightened, boundary-free version of connection. They spoke to me like my traditional outlook was an endearing but ultimately backward quirk. I tolerated it not because I was weak, but because I was waiting. I needed to know whether the foundation of this relationship was granite or loose sand. The subject of the wedding seating plan surfaced while we were having dessert. My mother, a woman who expresses herself softly yet with unbreakable steel, glanced at the printed chart and asked politely, "Clara, sweetheart, I notice Leo is placed at the head table beside your aunt. I was just wondering whether one of the friends' tables might feel more natural." The temperature in the room plummeted. Clara's mother set her spoon down with an audible clink. Clara's cheeks turned crimson with fury. I tried to smooth things over before she detonated. "Mom is only thinking about how it will look to guests, Clara. Having your former partner at the family table could confuse people." Clara whipped around to face me, eyes blazing. "Confuse people? The only confusion here is that you and your parents are stuck in some 1950s sitcom. Leo is my closest friend. He is family to me. He existed in my life long before you arrived, and he will still be there long after you're gone. He will always remain part of my life," she repeated, louder. Her father jumped in, voice thick with superiority. "Ben, we've been over this. Your inflexible categories of relationships are exactly what breed insecurity. What Clara and Leo share is a mature, transcendent bond. You ought to be grateful for it instead of trying to control everyone." It was a well-rehearsed tag team assault, with her mother nodding like a therapist proud of her star pupils. They had perfected this dynamic years ago. But this time my parents were present, witnessing this woman and her clan treat me, and the idea of our marriage, with open contempt. Clara, riding the wave of her parents' backing, decided to go for the kill. She rose from her chair, planted her hands on her hips, and delivered the sentence that ended everything. She looked straight from my mother to me and declared for the whole room, "Let's be perfectly clear. My ex will always be in my life. He will attend our wedding. He will be at our future children's christenings. He will join us for every holiday and milestone. That is non-negotiable. If you cannot accept it, then do not marry me." Dead silence. The ultimatum echoed like a gunshot. Every person waited to see how I would react. They fully expected me to argue, to beg, to fold like I had countless times before just to avoid conflict. Clara wore a victorious little smirk. She thought she had cornered me for good. I let almost a full minute pass without speaking that I studied her defiant stance, her parents' smug approval, my own parents' stunned but composed expressions, and then I met her eyes again. The experiment was over. She had just handed me the final inspection report, and the building was structurally unsound. I gave one slow, deliberate nod. Okay, I said, so quietly it threw her off balance. Okay, she echoed, mocking. Okay, you'll finally grow up and stop acting like a jealous teenager? No, I answered, rising from my seat. I folded my napkin, laid it neatly beside my plate. Okay, I will not marry you. I turned to my parents. Mom, Dad, let's go. The three of us walked out of that house and out of their lives without another glance. Update 1. The car ride home was wordless for the first 10 minutes. Dad kept both hands tight on the wheel, staring straight ahead. Mom gazed out the window that I think they were bracing for me to fall apart, to show devastation or second thoughts. Instead, I felt a deep, almost eerie calm. 5 years of walking on eggshells had just evaporated. At last Dad spoke, voice low. You absolutely certain, son? Never been more certain of anything, I replied. Mom twisted around in her seat. No tears, just fierce, quiet pride shining in her eyes. Good, she said. She was never right for you. We were only waiting for you to realize it yourself. When I reached my own house, the one I had purchased, where Clara had been living rent-free for 2 years, my phone looked like a battlefield. Missed calls stacked on missed calls, frantic messages from Clara, her parents, her friends, even one from Leo. The tones ranged from rage to bewilderment to desperate bargaining. Clara, what was that? You just walked out? This can't be real. Her mother, Ben, you have wounded our daughter deeply. You need to return immediately and apologize. Leo, bro, seriously? You're torching everything over nothing. They all still believed this was a dramatic episode one would get over after a few stern lectures and a forced apology. They hadn't grasped that my single word, okay, was final. I ignored every message and made one phone call instead. To Cynthia, our wedding planner, a calm and terrifyingly efficient professional. Cynthia, it's Ben. Plans have changed. The wedding is canceled permanently. Do not mail a single invitation tomorrow. Begin canceling every vendor immediately. Clara's family is handling all finances, so they will be your contact for deposits, refunds, and penalties. I had never put a penny toward the wedding. Her father had insisted on paying for everything and made sure everyone knew it. Now that six-figure disaster was entirely his to untangle. The next morning, Cynthia began the executions. I wish I could have watched her father's face when the venue, the caterer, the florist, the photographer, the string quartet, everyone, received the official cancellation notice and kept their non-refundable deposits. He phoned me in a near-apoplectic fury. Do you have any idea how much money you've just cost us? You cannot do this. I didn't do anything, I answered calmly. I simply accepted the terms your daughter laid out in front of 12 witnesses. She said marry her only if I agree to a lifelong role for her ex, or don't marry her at all. I chose not to marry her. I respected her boundary. The fallout is yours. He threatened lawyers, breach of promise suits, the works. I actually laughed. Richard, you were sitting right there. You heard her ultimatum loud and clear. There is no legal case, only the invoice for a party that isn't happening. Clara herself showed up that afternoon, letting herself in with the key she still had. She found me in the living room surrounded by flattened cardboard boxes, calmly packing her clothes and books. What on earth are you doing? She screamed. Helping you move out, I said without looking up. You'll need somewhere else to live. You can't throw me out. This is my home too. No, Clara. You have been a guest in my house. My name is the only one on the deed, and your welcome is officially over. Locks get changed tomorrow. Have your parents collect the rest of your things." That was when the mask finally shattered. The confident, righteous woman dissolved into a sobbing, bargaining mess. She cried that she hadn't meant it, that it was just heat of the moment stupidity, that she loved me, that I felt nothing. The moment to take it back was when my mother sat at your table being insulted. The moment was before you made another man a condition of our marriage. You chose. Now I have chosen. Update 2. The following 30 days were a harsh, unavoidable crash course for Clara in the idea that actions have consequences. She and her parents had spent their lives floating inside a privileged bubble where mistakes were endlessly excused and money erased problems. That bubble had popped. First came the money lesson. After a week of empty threats, her father accepted I would not pay a single canceled vendor. I heard the final tab approached 6 figures even after whatever refunds were possible. Second came the social lesson. They tried to paint me as the unhinged one who snapped and canceled the wedding for no reason. But too many people had been present at that dinner. Word spread fast. The bride issued an ultimatum about keeping her ex forever. The groom calmly said, "Okay," and left. Suddenly Clara wasn't the victim. She was the cautionary tale with nowhere else to go. She moved back into her parents' house. The atmosphere there turned poisonous. Her parents, bleeding money and prestige, quietly blamed her. The evolved family facade cracked wide open, exposing decades of resentment. Leo, the supposedly irreplaceable soulmate, proved utterly useless when real support was needed. He had enjoyed being the third wheel while Clara had a solvent, stable fiancé bankrolling her lifestyle. Supporting a broke, jobless, emotionally chaotic ex held no appeal. His texts slowed, then stopped. He was always busy. While their world imploded, I rebuilt mine. I finally took the solo Europe trip I had postponed for years because Clara hated the idea. I returned recharged. Work exploded. An enormous historic theater restoration I had poured 2 years into became the centerpiece of my career. I reconnected with old friends who had never liked the anxious, people-pleasing version of me that Clara required. I enjoyed silence, space, and decisions that affected only me. The sweetest piece of justice arrived about 6 months post-breakup. A major industry magazine ran a cover story on the theater restoration, complete with photos from the black tie reopening gala. There I was on stage, accepting an award while the mayor applauded. Final update. More than a year has passed since that fateful Sunday meal. My firm is thriving. The theater project unlocked opportunities one never dreamed of. I sold the old house and bought a raw, beautiful downtown loft. Exposed brick, steel beams, high windows. 100% mine. 6 months ago I started seeing Sarah, a sharp, compassionate surgeon with a quiet strength I admire every day. Her big Italian family enveloped me in warmth, laughter, and endless plates of homemade pasta. We respect each other's pasts. We protect each other's present. We are excited about a shared future. I had heard fragments about Clara through distant mutual contacts, but I had blocked her and her entire family everywhere. Apparently the wedding loss plus some of her father's risky investments going bad forced them to sell the big house and move into a modest condo. Clara still lived with them, her life coach dreams dead for lack of funding, now working retail at an upscale clothing store she despised. Leo? Engaged to someone new. He and his fiancée made it clear Clara was not invited into their modern family arrangement. The last unexpected encounter happened a month ago at a high-profile charity auction. Sarah and I were bidding on a painting, relaxed and happy. Across the room I spotted Clara, wearing the standard black apron of the hired events staff, circulating with trays of champagne. Our eyes met. She saw me, confidently happy, arm around a stunning, accomplished woman who was laughing at something I said. For one brief second her composed mask slipped and raw regret flashed across her face. Then she turned and vanished into the kitchen before I even had time to register the moment fully.